Hey, welcome back to the Crabby Dice. Today we're looking at the game Huns from Le Boîte à Jeux. Well, this is a very light dice drafting game, super light, and just like most light games, theme doesn't really matter like a Splendor or an Azul. It's very mechanically driven. Well, if you want to know the theme, well, we're one of Khan's generals and we have to succeed him by gaining victory points, blah blah blah. It doesn't really matter. Alright, it's a very light dice drafting game. It's actually pretty good, very underrated. This is going to be the rules and setup video. Click on the link below for the playthrough. It's probably a short video as well. Three things before we start: please like, subscribe, and comment on my videos. That would be great. Let's get started. Alright, the Huns setup, pretty easy. So you're going to have 5 decks of cards, all different colors. So shuffle them all separately and lay them out in the exact order: blue, red, green, black, and yellow. Now, if you're not playing 4 players, you're going to have to go through those decks and remove the indicated player count numbers here. So in a 3-player game like I'm showing here, there's 1 card in each deck you have to remove. And in a 2-player game, there's an extra card you need to remove. Alright, take those out of the game. Next, put out the valuable cubes above each of the indicated colors. Again, if you're playing less than 4, you're going to remove 2 cubes for every player less than 4. So in a 3-player game, just remove 2 of each cube. Done. You have your wagon cards. Give it a good shuffle. And you're going to give 2 to every single player that they'll put on the left-hand side of their board over here. Every player is going to have a board. Give out the first player marker to somebody. Give him all the dice as well. And for the last player in a 3-player game, they're going to get 1 valuable of their choice. And in a 4-player game, they're going to get 2 valuables of their choice. Let's just give them a green, and we're ready to go. Alright, welcome to the Huns rules breakdown. So this is a very basic dice drafting game, right? So at any point in the game, there will be at most 5 dice. You're going to draft one of them and do one of the 2 actions with that die. And then when they're all done, pass the first player marker and do the turn again and again until the end game is triggered. Alright, so let's quickly just talk about how you win. It's collecting victory points. All right, there's going to be a victory point section in the rules. It'll take you to the end of the video, but there's multiple cards in the game that'll score you victory points. You're just going to look at the bottom of the card here. So the gold cards are all end game scoring stuff, and all the other cards will give you a point or 2, and all your wagons will give you points as well. All right, so that's sort of how you win. Okay, how does the game end? Well, there's no set number of turns. What you're going to do is that at the end of any turn, when there's no dice left, you're going to look at all the piles of cubes or all the cards, and if any pile runs out, that'll trigger the end game. Okay, so you just keep going and going, and then eventually a pile will run out. All the dice are done. That'll trigger the end game. You're going to score and see who wins. Okay, so let's go over a random turn structure because it'll make more sense. So every turn is going to work the exact same way. All right, you're going to start with the first player. You're going to roll all the dice, and he's going to assign these dice to their respective colors. So you got blue, black, green, and yellow. Okay? Now, when it's your turn, you're going to grab one of the dice and do an action. So let's say I would have taken the black dice. I'll do my action. I'll talk about the actions in a little bit, but I'll do that. Then the next player will take his die. Let's say he took blue. The next player after that will take red. Next player after that will take green. And finally, come back up to me. I'll take this. I'll do my action. Now, when all the dice are finished, guess what? You're going to pass the first player marker to the next player, recoup all the dice, and do that again. So roll all the dice, place them back, and redraft. Alright, you're just going to keep doing that over and over again till, again, the end game is triggered. Alright, let's go over the 2 options when you grab a die. Alright, so option 1 is taking cards, and option 2 is taking cubes. Okay, let's talk about cards first because it's the simplest thing. The die face will tell you how many cards you draw, but you'll only ever keep 1 card. So you'll look at them, you'll pick the one that you like, put it in front of you, and the other one that you didn't take goes back underneath the deck. Now that's the same for every deck, and that's the same if you rolled a 2 or 3. If you took a 1, for example green, you'd have no choice, you just keep this card in front of you. Alright, because it was a 1. Let's talk about cubes now. So when you take cubes instead, so let's say I took 2 yellow cubes, that's when you assign them to either your wagons or to 1 person. Example, green and black are the only cards that have people, but you need to assign cubes to them and fill them up before they can activate. Okay, so let's talk about this section first. So when you assign it to a person, it has to go to one person. You can't split up the cubes. So for example, let's say I would have done this, right? In the future, let's say I would have drafted the 2 black. I would not be able to put 1 black cube on this guy and 1 black cube on this guy. All right, they have to be assigned to the same guy. So my only 2 options are placing it here, or placing 1 here, finishing him so his power is activated, and then this one, because I have nowhere to put it, is going to go back into the reserve. That's how you put cubes on cards. Now let's talk about wagons. So as you can see, all the wagon spots are color coded, and unlike people cards or green and black cards, you can place them however you like on all your wagons. So if I would have taken 3 green, I can assign 2 up here and 1 down here, for example. If I would have taken 3 red, I can put 2 red here, but this one I have nowhere to put it, so it's going to go back into the general supply. Now I will mention one thing though. If you do finish a wagon, you get to draw right away, and any excess will be applied to that card if it takes it. So for example here, I just need 1 yellow and no other yellow can go anywhere. So if I would have taken 2 yellow cubes, I would place my yellow here. Now any cubes you currently have on wagons, when you finish a wagon, will go into your supply here to score at the end of the game. I'll show you that later. Your wagon will go into your completed wagon section here, and you're going to draw right away. Unfortunately, this one doesn't need a yellow, so this will go back into the reserve, but if it did need a yellow, it can go on that card. Alright, so those are the 2 rules about placing cubes. They either go on your wagons entirely, or just pick 1 card and they will go onto that card. And essentially, those are the only 2 things you're doing with a die when you draft it. Alright, let's talk about the different card types and how do you score in the game. So there's 5 different colors and they all stand for something different. Alright, so blue, easy. They're just ongoing effects that you'll gain all the time. You put it next to you, read the text. When something happens, you gain something no matter what. Red ones are called raid cards, and these ones are a lot of attacky cards, and you get to trigger them by tapping them and it does a specific action on the bottom right. Okay. Green ones are just like blue, except you need to fill out the character with cubes like we mentioned in the rules section. Once that happens, you'll have an ongoing ability. The icon here will tell you when it triggers, but just read the text. It says at the beginning of the turn, at the end of the turn, so on and so on. But they're more powerful than the blues because you need to add cubes to them. Alright, now black are very special cards. These are the take that cards of the game. So what you're going to do is, when you take a black card, you don't actually keep it, you actually give it to another player. Alright, so he's going to have a detriment from now on. Read the text and it says from now on you lose something or whatever. And that's going to happen until he fills out this card just like a green card. So he's going to have to put 4 cubes on here to basically flip it over. Okay? When that happens, when he fills it out, this is negated and he can just go on to play his regular game. But he always has an option as soon as he gets the card to say, you know what, I'm never going to fill this up and I don't want to deal with this problem. So he can flip it over as well and lose points at the end of the game by not satisfying the need. So here you're going to lose a point for each player in the game. All right, they all work the same way. They're all attacky type cards as well. Only have 1 wagon to fill, only get certain dice colors, so on and so on. And lastly, there's the yellow cards, which are the treasure cards. These have no effects. They're just end game scoring cards, a way to score extra points. So you'll score for extra things, extra tokens, extra whatever, extra wagons, so on and so on. All right, those are the different types of cards. So you'll take that into consideration when drafting. And now let's talk about the end game scoring. All right, so easy enough. You're gonna look at your little reminder card here. So blue cards never give you victory points. That's fine. Every red card's a victory point no matter what. Green cards, if you fill them up, because remember you got to fill them up, they're worth 1 point each, and if you don't fill it up, it's worth -1 point. Each curse that you didn't flip or didn't satisfy is worth -1 for each player count, for each player in the game. Yellow, the complete opposite, you gain a point for every player in the game if you satisfy it. And lastly, you're going to score your wagons. So you're going to score 1 point per player per dispatched wagon. So if you're playing a 4-player game and you dispatch 5 wagons, that's 20 points. All right. Plus, you'll get points for your different types and largest set of wagons. So if there's 4 different types, So, sorry, yeah, 4 different types. So if you get all 4, you'll get plus 4 points. If you only get 3 out of 4, you get 3 points. And lastly, you'll get an extra bonus for the unique set of wagons. So let's say you had 4 yellow wagons, you'll score plus 4 points after that. And that's how you score. You'll tally all that up on a piece of paper and figure out who the winner is. And there you go, those are all the rules. One thing I did forget to mention is there's a tie at the end of the game. Well, the person with the most cubes in their stash is the winner. These don't actually score you points unless they're depicted on a yellow card or some other fashion, but that's how that works. Alright, there you go. That's how you play Huns. Click the link below for the playthrough. If not, we'll see you on the next one.